up, beautiful people? In this video I will be pruning and cleaning out my raised beds over here, as you can see, and I have a lot of things going on that I did not know was taking place, but at the end of the day we're gonna pull them up, okay? So let's get to it. What's up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Don't Keep Up With the Joneses. 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 Hello, great people. How you doing today? My name is Ricky Jones Jr. if you are new to the channel, and I love doing garden videos both in the front yard, and I'll be starting one in the backyard, but I pretty much do like raised bed gardening and some 5-gallon bucket gardening. So if you're into those things, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you click that like button, and as always, I love to know where people are viewing from, so let me know in the comment section below. However, I have a lot going on and a lot of pruning that I have to do for my front yard garden, okay? I have this okra. Like, this okra looks oh so beautiful, but at the end of the day it's getting out of control. Like, this situation is probably about 5 feet, and as you can see, the okra is poking through, so I need to go ahead and get that out. But it's a-okay because I will be growing it over there in my raised bed, or my keyhole raised bed, so it's going to have a life. It's going to be not replanted because I'm gonna grow from seed, but nonetheless we will have okra. Just not this one, because it was getting out of control, getting out of hand. And also I have this huge basil tree. I'm gonna call it a basil tree, you call it a shrub, as well as a marigold down there too. We'll see what's going on over there. And then I have these beans and things over here that I need to clean out. So as I clean it out, I'll tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing, and more than anything, why you will want to do it too. And then after we have it all cleaned out, we'll be able to look at it, and I'll be able to speak to what I will be doing this fall, this September, in my raised beds, okay? So let's go ahead and get to the cleaning process, and let's see what's really going on in these raised beds, because it's been a while since I planted in them, and I honestly don't know what's within them, okay? Let's see. All right, great people, so as you can see, I'm just going ahead and pulling out what was, and these were my beans. I had a lot of beans growing over here, with the idea that I wanted to make this soil nice and rich in nitrogen, because as bean plants absorb the nitrogen, it then pushes it down to its roots, which ends up in the soil itself. So it is a nice nitrogen booster to the soil, because I'll be growing some leafy greens. I don't know which ones quite yet in this particular raised beds, but it'll either be the, which I don't know what this is. This is not what I planted, but it's something that grew, and so, you know, weeds can get out of control if you leave them to themselves, and so that's what that was. Wow, this root system is very interesting. Anyway, everything that you see that was here will be thrown into the compost. It will have life beyond the raised bed, which is the beautiful part of having your whole system set up, from the raised beds to the compost bins to all of those things. You know, if you're trying to do your own soils and things like that, make sure you have a space for everything, so that when the time arises, such as this, where you can feed those things, it'll be in place and it'll be there. And so I'm just going ahead and clearing things out, shaking off as much of the dirt from the roots as possible. So I'm gonna do this first, and then I'm gonna come through and rake it so that the soil itself will be nice and loose. I don't want it to be tight, because the roots itself were, you know, growing and doing their thing. And so I want to break up the pattern of what was, establishing the new for what's to come. So a lot of these beans plants have already kind of died off, so it's not too bad. I broke my string for my square foot gardening, but it's okay. It's not all the way severed, but it doesn't connect, so I have to just restring it, which is not a problem. I need to get some string anyway. All right, so now that it's nice and we'll call it empty, I'll just go ahead now and get the rake, little fork we'll call it, hand fork, and fork through the soil itself, just to, again, refresh it, revitalize it, and restore what was. Consistency, that is. Again, this part is to get back a nice loose soil, turn over what was, and I also add some fertilizers in here as well, just to kind of kickstart, restart, rebuild what was, as we reestablish some new plants, which a lot of the leaves and all had fallen off of the bean plant, which is fine, because the leaves themselves have nitrogen in them, and so it all feeds the soil as well. It's a nice system, the way nature operates, the way gardening works, and all these things. All we do is just have to tend to what already is established. So remember those things. Don't be so pressed about, you know, how it looks, so to speak, but know that it's doing what it needs to do, how it already has been designed to do. So all we're doing is just establishing what is in a new location, which happens to be this raised bed, it'll be your raised bed, or wherever it is you're doing and growing what you're doing and growing. All right, so we'll just keep going down and doing that as well. Look at all of this that I have for the compost bin. Like, it's a circle of life, y'all. Keep it going. All right, so I backed the camera up so I can get a full shot of what's I'm about to do. And so the way I'm gonna go about dismissing or removing, I should probably say, this okra plant is that I'm going to clip it first because it is a lot to take up. And then once I clip it, I'll just pull it out. Feels hard to do that, but it's necessary, y'all. And I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do with what I have. It's not all a loss. It's never a loss when you doing things yourself. And this root system is a large. Oh, wow. Wow, look at that ball. That's a serious root ball right here, guys and gals. My goodness, that's just one of them. See what else is going on over here. Thick roots, like, look at that. That's amazing. Thick trunk, thick roots. It's all to the good. It's gonna go to the compost bin. All right, so now that the big boys are gone, we can now get back to these peas that has again established nice rich nitrogen into the soil, which is a vital component to growing nice leafy green vegetables, which is what I will be growing in these raised beds, from kale to collards to arugula to bush beans. These were more like snap peas, so not necessarily what I would have customarily be growing. I won't be throwing the weeds in the compost bin. We don't want to have that going, or should I say growing in the compost. Loosen the soil. All right, so I'm gonna let that one over there rest before I add the fertilizer in there. And so for this one, I'm gonna do the same thing and just pull up what was, which in here there were bush beans, but I really didn't have much bean growth. So maybe they were the snap peas that I grew. I believe, or I thought I grew an assortment. However, what turned out was far from an assortment, but more of nothing. And so without any remorse, I am pulling these up because I really didn't get anything worth viewing or showing. But it happens. I don't know why it happened. It did grow. There were some flowers on it. However, I did not get any bean production. So, you know, with that, there's no love lost at the end of the day. Why you plant more than one seed. Man, a lot of these plants are interconnected. This one happens to have a lot of weeds in it, which wasn't able to see because of all the beans. And so even keep that in mind while you're gardening as well. On when you populate an area, we'll call it, it will cause you to need to pay more closer attention to that area, as opposed to if there's space and the ability to see through, you're able to, you know, see the weeds and things as they grow and be able to pick them out. But when you have a heavy, densely populated area, it'll cause you to have to get in there, you know. I couldn't help myself. It was perfect lineup. But anyway, it'll cause you to have to get in and be more hands-on with what's going on, as opposed to just taking a look as you walk by, or however it is you take notice of the things that are going on in your garden. What we do know is the denser the area, the more likely weeds are to germinate and grow. Therefore, it's going to require your hands-on attention as opposed to your walk-by view. And so now just go ahead and cleaning up what was. I broke up the square foot gardening, which is okay. I'll just restring it, which again is why I use screws and things like that. Makes life a little easier. You have to redo things, but no love lost comes with it. So the soil is still nice and rich. Again, I'm gonna leave the leaves. It's not bothering me. More than anything, it's gonna provide nitrogen for the other plants to come. Not only will it provide nitrogen, but it's also a nice mulch, you know. It's dual purpose. I was getting some nematodes growing on these roots. Don't want that to go into the compost bin. And so that's another reason why you prune your raised beds, preferably during and before every season, growing season, because you get to see what's going on, see what was going on with your roots, see what is going on with the soil, and be able to address those issues accordingly. I I've been digging trying to find some earthworms. Haven't come across one yet. More nematode damage going on these roots, which may have caused the lack of growth of beans that I was able to consume from these bush beans. So again, seeing what is, addressing what went on, being able to then counteract those things so that as I grow my next round of crops, I won't have those problems. That's what was going on here. So I will not be composting anything that came out of this raised bed. It'll all go to the trash, which is why I use a separate bin from the first place, just to keep everything separated so I know what's what and how to do things accordingly. Oh yeah, yep. That was my problem here. And so even with this luscious, large marigold, I'm still getting some damage, which I don't even know if you can see how grand this marigold bush is, but as I continue to clear things out, you'll be able to get to see its glory, we'll call it. But at this point now, I'm just trying to go through and dig up as many roots as possible, because I don't want these to be here as I grow new things in this raised bed. As much as a clean, fresh start I can have, the better. For me, for the vegetables, for the soil, for us all. All right, I think I'm pretty solid. So let's see what's going on around this marigold tree. All right, so see the roots of the tree. Probably more definitively call it. Leaving that intact, I'll just pull away from it. It's multiple marigold bushes. I'm gonna coin them. So this is one massive one that has sprawled itself out and about. Let me just put it like that, just so it has some form of organization. Then over here I have my basil, lemon basil, which has done so well. It's grown so fast. Deciding whether or not I'm gonna leave it, because ground space is really not taking up much space, but aerial space, doing a lot of that, taking up a lot of aerial space. And so I'll see what I'm gonna do as far as keeping it here or taking it out. But for now, I'm gonna leave it just for the sake of, I like how it smells, I like how it looks. Therefore it will stay. But these weeds over here, they have to go. So let's clear the weeds. Last but not least, I'm gonna go ahead and clear out these basil bushes. They did well. I don't know what happened to the big one over here. It was doing so well at one time, and then it just died on me, slowly but surely. But at the same time, I was not taking part of eating it. I was really growing it to grow it along with the tomatoes on this trellis, but the tomatoes didn't take off, obviously. So the basil itself just remained a nice ornament to the garden itself, but it's okay. It's okay. Things come and go, and that's the beauty of a garden. Again, things come and go. You get to try different things, know what works, what doesn't work, how things grow. All right. Oh wow, that wasn't hard at all. I guess because it was already long and dead. And so this actually can go into the compost bin. It's a nice root ball system that I don't have to be afraid of or worried about. Pretty average and simple, I would say. So, no, that's good. That's solid. Live the good life, basil. I appreciate you. You made room for some collards and kale. Y'all know I love growing in the fall. At this point now, I'm just gonna go ahead and put down some fertilizer. Of course, you know I use the Sustain. And then I also have some sea salt that I'm gonna put down, which is very good to allow for the plants themselves to be able to take in the fertilizers and things like that. It's also to help with keeping the retention of your water and things. And so what you could do is, before you put some of this sea salt down into your raised bed, be mindful of what it is you're growing and see if it'll be beneficial. Sea salt isn't beneficial for everything. However, for what I'm growing, it's gonna be good. And so of course, a nice douse of the Sustain will do the raised bed good. And I'm gonna do the same on this side. However, I'm gonna just do the Sustain over here, and I already have some things growing. in this raised bed. So now at this point, I have some nice cleared and clean raised beds that is ready for my fall gardening and so forth and so on, in which I'm excited, y'all. I'm gonna have a lot of kale, a lot of collards, and you'll see all the great things that I have growing. I'm looking at this massive bead that's on the sunflower. I'll just show you. I'm gonna keep my distance because I don't want to prohibit what's going on over there, y'all. But that's what's going on. And so everything is nice and clear. All I have to do now is clean up the mess that I made up. And again, what's in the green basket, which I can even walk over there because we'll look at the okra and I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do with it. But what's in the green basket is what I'll be able to put in the compost bin. What's in the orange with the nematode problem will not go into the compost bin. Don't want to introduce that problem into the compost, okay? So now let's look at the okra, and I'm gonna even tell you why I did what I did with the okra and what you could do with okra if you have what I have. All right, so what we have here, let me just go ahead and take the leaves off, which are gonna be great for the compost bin. But as you can see, I'm putting on my gloves too because there's a white sap that comes out of the stem, which is very itchy if it touches your hand. But nonetheless, what I have here are some long okra, and when it gets this long, it's not edible. It's not good. Well, it is edible, but it's very tough, and it's not what you're accustomed to eating. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and take these off, and I'm gonna allow them to dry off, and as they dry off, I'll be able to then keep the seeds of these so I can have future okra plants, okay? And so there is no love lost, nothing that will be lost out of this ordeal. I'll be able to have future ones, as well as compost or green leafy compost for my compost area. So it's all good, y'all. It's all good. And this is a lot. Look at this. Look at these tubulars. Whatever they're called. It's long. It's so long. It's longer than my hand, okay? Looks like reindeer, or excuse me, it looks like elf hats. And that's not what we want, okay? So that's the reason why I did what I did with these. So, yeah. Oh, look at this beauty. I had to show it to you. Look at that. That's a beaut. Man, I wish there was a way to keep it, but I don't know, so it's got to go. All right, great people. So with that being said, I have a lot to clean up, a lot to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. If you are new to what's going on. And again, let me know in the comment section below where you are streaming and viewing from. I would greatly appreciate it so I can shout you out. Okay? So, till next time.